This is the project that I am going to be creating tonight. It features the Crane of Fortune stamp set with the stuff up here, the Good Fortune dies. So I like this stamp set because it's unusual. And also, I used to live in Baraboo, where that's the home of the International Crane Foundation. So when I lived in Baraboo, that organization was just getting started. And now I think they've been going for, shouldn't date myself, but I want to say at least 20 years, maybe 25 years. Anyway. All right, so I've got a little bit of a connection to cranes. That's why I bought this stamp set. So here's a stamp set. I've already got my stamps mounted that I need to ink. Before I ink, I want to show you the designer series paper. Now, if the stamp set and the dies are not up your alley, but you kind of like the images, I can tell you that the designer series paper has got these beautiful gold cranes, and there are I'm pretty sure there are 13 full cranes that you can fussy cut out. So you get 26 cranes per package. And then here's what's on the opposite side of the pattern paper. So one side's got gold foil, the other side's got a matte print. Here, these flowers you can fussy cut out as well. And then here's a sheet of cranes in the air. And then I've used a lot, I've gotten several packages of this, but I have used them up, most of them. There's also a pattern of this. So this is a fun little, I think it looks like a nighttime scene with the moon back there. So you can make little fun scenes without having to buy the stamps. And then this is the 6th pattern. All right, so I've got some scrap here. So let's get to some stamping. I'm gonna pull up my smoky slate and show you, as I unearth everything, my messy background mat. So you can see out on the edge here is where I stamp my stamps before I take them to my Stampin' Scrub. That way I don't have to clean my Stampin' Scrub so frequently. And what's just behind my Stampin' Grid is, it's just an old calendar, a desk calendar. So it's a little wider than Stampin' Grid paper. All right, Emily, the designer series paper is elegant with all those gold touches. So I've got this scrap here, and it's scrap because I cut off one of those cranes. So let me pull that back in. I cut off those cranes to put on the card. All right, so now I'm just stamping on, it's this pattern for the crane. And then I also am going to stamp Much Luck and Good Fortune. And I don't have enough room there, but I had a bonus piece right here. Smoky Slate is my ink pad again. And I've got some more stamping to do. So these are the scraps. I'm going to set those aside. The inside, I decided that I really like the soft tones, the Smoky Slate against the macaron. So I decided I was going to do a double matte. By that, can you see that there's a little bit of that matte sticking out there? There's also a little bit more you can see on the inside. So those two pieces are the exact same size. So here's that matte. And then I've got some stamping of these dragonflies. So it looks like I did just like that. All right, I'm going to close this up. Move that aside, and then we'll get to the measurements here. So we've got 2 pieces of this designer series paper, and measured 4 inches by 5¼ inches, or 9.5 by 13.5 centimeters. And my Stampin' Seals right here. And it doesn't matter which one of these you use for a mat. It looks like I've got almost the same pattern on both. And you can put the grain out, or the gray if you want, but I like the little bit of the pastel contrast. So one will go on the inside. And designer series paper is actually easy to mat with, double mat on the inside and outside, because it doesn't add a lot of weight. And especially some crazy patterns that you want to cover up, some zigzags or stripes. When they're using a mat, they tone down in their patterns. All right, now this is on the inside. And this is just my standard 1/6 of an 8.5 by 11 piece of or basic white. You use whatever you like for your mat. I just cut that piece of basic white into 6 equal pieces so I don't have any scrap. And that's enough to write a personal message for me anyway. If I have to write more than that, I should just give somebody a phone call. All right, so let's get back to our stuff that we stamped. And I'll bring, before I do that, I'm a big fan of adhering all pieces that I don't need. So here is the same pattern. It's cut a little smaller. So to make a mat, so this is 3 3/4 inches by 5 inches, or 9 by 13 centimeters. All right, now I did some stamping, but you also can see I did some die cutting ahead of time. So we would die cut crane through, and as long as there's scrap, and I will be die cutting this after we get all done. No sense in wasting it. As long as there's scrap around the crane, I will die cut all 3 of those pieces. I could probably fit right there. So after the session, I'll take that to the Stampin' Cut Boss machine and make another card. But for now, and through the power of television, ta-da! I've got some that are already cut. Now this is not quite straight. So I'm just going to grab my paper snips and attempt to fussy cut this straight. And I'm going to leave a little more over on the left-hand side of the words because I'm going to attach that crane down. And guess what? If I can't get this cut straight, I've got some other choices right there pre-done. But I find the paper snips to be a very handy tool to leave right at your table. Ooh, that is like nowhere near straight. Shh, don't tell anybody. Okay, we'll try to cut that off. This pattern is actually, though, very forgiving, and what I'm doing with it is very forgiving. So that looks good. I won't have to use the 2 that I did ahead of time. All right, now we've got this Pearl Essence paper. Wow, and I totally forgot to get the name of this before I came on camera. Hang on a second. It's the Mother of Pearl. And it is Pearl Essence, but Mother of Pearl is its name. And this measures 1.5 by 4 inches, or 3.8 by 9.5 centimeters. So I have it going the full width of the DSP mat. That's the next layer. I am going to use 2 runs of my Stampin' Seal because this is heavy duty cardstock. It is nice and glittery. Let's see if I can get it to glitter. Oh, hi Wendy. Thanks for joining in tonight. I'm making a fun little crane card. Next is going to be this gold twine, and I find this metallic ribbon very hard to use. It doesn't keep a nice bow. I love to do bows. So the way to get around that is to actually make just some loops. So you can see what I did there. And let's find this. Here's our sentiment. I'm going to put a mini dimensional on either end. And then through the center will be all that gold loopy metallic. Find the end here. All right, and then it'll be about through here. So attach your tape runner. And I do have the end sticking out. I think that adds a nice little bit of interest. So I'll do the same thing. And where's my stick? Where's my stem? And one nice thing about this metallic ribbon is that it is looped. It's wound around this little cardboard rod, and so it kind of forms its own loops for this. And I will just make some, I don't make the loops the same size. I make them one smaller, medium, and one, I'm going to put this up in one small, medium, large, and then have this tails out as well for interest. Okay, so there's no right or wrong way for that to be teared down. I will snag my tear and tape and secure that down because it's this metal ropey ribbon that doesn't really like to adhere down to anything. I will take the backer sheet off that tear and tape because that'll be another adhesion point for a little, much like in Good Fortune tag. Now, oh, before I adhered that down, I should have put my foliage. Hang on, let me pull that up. One thing about the dimensionals is if you pull them off right away, usually you can pull them off. Oh, no, that one didn't. Well, the adhesive stayed on there, but I can still use it. You can pull them off and not have to stick a new one down. All right, so little die shapes. Then stick out right there. Place this over that. And I've pre-cut one of these little, one of these from the pattern paper. Probably was this one right here. Just to bring the crane thing through the whole card. Now I'm going to put a little tiny glue dot on the crane. Just the wings, because it's going to be the tail, and like the head is kind of off that tag a little bit. All right, now what else? Oh, we have the crane. So the crane, we can use some glue dots, and I think I will do that. Here it looks like I use tape runner, but the legs are kind of up a little bit because that mother of pearl paper is so thick. But if I add some glue dots, or use glue dots as the adhesive, there's thickness, just a touch of thickness to the glue dot that will raise it to the height of that other pearl paper, most likely. It will make the crane look like it's not walking on bent legs. Okay. And beware of the glue dots, because it seems like the rolls that I get, they are super sticky. So something with the head, glue dot on the head, you just have to be very gingerly. Pull that glue dot off of the transfer sheet so you don't rip your paper. I'm going to put one glue dot behind the knob of the knees. Okay. Now try not to rip the legs. Oh, see, the glue dots are so sticky. There. All right, and we're just going to put the crane. A little bit of the sentiment, because that adds a little bit of interest. I was going to put it right down here, but then everything is in the same line of vision. We'll put a little bit up for a little bit of height. And there is my Symbols of Fortune greeting card using the Crane of Fortune stamp set and the Good Fortune dies. Oh, my card base is Smoky Slate. I don't think I ever mentioned that. So that's it. That's all I have for a presentation for tonight.